Hey all you submariners out there, this is Matt, and welcome to episode number 12 of my Elite Difficulty Cold Waters playthrough. So far we've spent 71 days at war, sunk a total of 99 vessels, for a total tonnage of about 590,000 tons. Right now we're going rogue once again. We're going to ignore this mission, which is to put a SEAL team into Gromika. We're going to ignore that, instead go back to Holy Lock, refill the torpedo room, and head out into the Norwegian Sea or the Barents Sea to sink some more Soviet shipping. So soon after starting here, we get an update. Looks like we're taking back Denmark, which is a good sign. We're doing well in the war here. The boys are doing well on the ground. As you can see, there is actually no red tanks or anything on the map, so the Soviets have been mostly pushed back, which is a good sign. So I see some possible groups here that I may be able to encounter. So I'm moving around trying to get into a spot, and they're playing games with me here, trying to avoid me, it looks like. So this is a little bit more difficult than I had hoped. I was hoping to get an encounter pretty quick. I feel like I'm kind of wasting some time here, but it is what it is sometimes. That's how it goes. So I'm going to get close to the SOSUS line here in hopes of getting an encounter. I thought I was going to get one there. Didn't quite work out for me. So I'll put myself in a position so the maritime patrol aircraft might be able to see me. And finally, I get mobbed by two surface groups. Bearing 172, our heading's 110, so they'll be about 60 degrees to the right, close to 15,000 yards, and engage this encounter. There was a contact when it started, bearing 172, but that contact is faded. Discovered that the ambient noise in this area is 114 decibels, so it's going to be very challenging to get any contact via sonar. Luckily this is a surface group, so I should be able to use my periscope to get an idea of where they are, which I'm doing now. As soon as I do pick up an ESM contact, Echo 2. So bearing is 237. I'm going to take a look around at that bearing to see if I can find anything out there. There we go, there's one. And I'll keep looking to see if there's anything else. And I was able to pick up another thing here. Just a bit of a shimmery long distance contact there. Having found them both on the periscope, I feel quite confident in being able to shoot on these guys. I'm just going to put myself in a position to do that.
Helm right 232. Helm I.
I'm getting some sonar pings from a direction where I don't have a contact, so there's clearly a fourth contact out here. I have three of them lit up so far.
0 feet, dive by.
I'll set my depth to 700 feet, which is a fairly good depth to work from. Definitely won't have to worry about cavitating or anything from that depth. And I'll fire off a couple weapons here in the direction of the last known locations of Master 2 and Master 1.
Aye, sir.
Especially since they're paying me with active sonar now, I want to get some weapons out, if for no other reason than for a defensive measure. I'll activate weapon number 1 and weapon number 2 and get them pointed in the right direction here.
Con sonar, new contact bearing 270, designated Sierra 4.
That's when I get a new contact popping up,
Con
Sierra
sonar,
4,
lost contact.
which
Sierra 4,
disappears almost right
bearing
away.
2,
But
7,
because
1,
Sierra 4
contact
seems
faded.
very close,
2, 3.
I'm going to
Aye,
put
sir.
a weapon in the water in that direction. We'll fast forward a little bit. Now we have 3 weapons
Master 2.
Con, dive at
spreading out here.
700 feet,
Torpedo
dive by.
number 3 locks on first. Not sure exactly what it's locked on to, but it did acquire a target.
Con sonar lost contact. Master 2. Last bearing 2.
Okay, so that was
4.
Master 2.
Contact breaking up.
I hadn't classified it or anything because I didn't have the contact long enough to be able to classify it in the sonar tab. I'll skip ahead here a little bit more to the point where it looks like Master 1 appeared and then disappeared. Like I said, it's very difficult in these conditions to get contacts and keep them because it's so loud. Now I have Weapon 1 and Weapon 2 heading out. Neither one of them seems to have picked up anything. I really only have about 2 minutes of torpedo runtime left. 2 minutes and 10 seconds now of torpedo runtime left. So this weapon is almost out of energy.
Raise the radar mast.
But I turn it, I steer it so that it goes towards contact E3.
Lower the radar mast.
And I raise the radar mast to get a
Lower the
better
ESM mast.
bearing on the contacts, and I'm able to see that Master 1's actually quite
Dive
close.
at 4, 5,
So I'm
8,
gonna
dive
I'm
by.
gonna fire a torpedo at Master 1.
Aye, sir.
And now I'm just waiting to see if this weapon I have heading
Fire
towards
control. Weapon acquired.
Echo 3, contact Echo 3, is going to have enough energy to actually make it all the way out there. I'm not sure about that.
Raise the radar mast.
I'll raise the radar mast again to get a better bearing on anything that's around. I would say right now that because I'm doing that and contact Sierra 4 is not being lit in any way, that I'm quite sure contact Sierra 4 is actually a submarine.
Lower the radar mast.
Down to less than a minute of runtime here on this torpedo. It looks like contact Echo 3 was just kind of tooling along, kind of keeping station, wasn't moving very fast, so it was quite easy to get that one. Weapon number 1 still has not found any targets, and unfortunately will not find any targets. It will run out of fuel before I can get it pointed at an actual target, so that was a wasted torpedo, unfortunately.
Torpedo room 2-2 ready.
And that's it for Contact Master 1.
6. Contact breaking up.
Now that those 3 surface contacts are down, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here trying to search for Sierra 4, hoping that I can find it and take care of it as well. So I'm going to dive deep back down to 700 feet.
Switching to active search.
Use active sonar to hopefully be able to smoke them out. And then set a course in the general direction of Sierra 4, hoping to track him down. So far, nothing. Honestly, I don't usually have a whole lot of luck with active sonar anyway. I mostly use it as a way to bait the enemy into attacking me so that I can attack them back, so that I can counterattack. So after having traveled to near where Sierra 4 was and still having no contact, I decided that's enough. There's nothing nearby. It was a November submarine, but looks like he turned tail and ran, or tucked tail and ran. So we'll just leave this encounter and move on to the next one, which is going to happen right away because they're ganging up on me. Bearing 110, our heading is 55, so about 50 degrees, 55 degrees to the right. And as soon as we get into this encounter, the ambient noise is much lower, and I have 2 contacts to work with immediately. Sierra 1 and Sierra 2.
Make depth 458, dive by.
Since I'm already near the surface and I know these will be
Raise the ESM mast.
surface vessels, I start by going to periscope depth at 45 feet and putting up the periscope to take a look around. So I'll turn to bearing 110 eventually here as I do a sweep. There's the helicopter. So there's the first one. And I have a bit of difficulty right now trying to mark this contact. Just won't work no matter if I go back, if I move the cursor and come back around. It's still not happening. Here's the second one, which is a very shimmery and far off contact, which I am finally able to mark after a few tries. So that makes me go back to the first one and try again. Still unable to do that, so after trying a few more times,
Lower the ESM mast.
I'm going to give up and just go with the information that I have.
Make depth 45. Make depth 500 feet, dive by.
I'll dive to 600 feet, which I think is a good depth considering the floor being at 779 feet. Gives me some room to play with a little bit. I've been able to classify Master 1 as an Udaloy, and because he's pretty close, I fire a torpedo at him once I've turned in that direction.
Con sonar, Master 2 is classified as escort.
And the classified Master 2 was a Kara. Alright, we'll fast forward here to when weapon number 1 is getting close to the Udaloy. I still have the wire, so I'm able to steer this one in.
Con sonar, lost contact.
Scratch 1
Master
Udaloy.
1, last bearing 101.
In the meantime, Contact Master 2 has fallen off my sonar scope, but I can still see him pinging me with active sonar, which gives me an idea of which direction he's in. So I'm going to use that information to fire a torpedo in his direction.
Shoot tube 2. Aye, sir.
That's a handy trick, something that can come in very useful in situations like this. By using active sonar, they really give away their bearing direction.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing.
So we'll skip ahead to the point where the torpedo is homing in on the Kara.
Con sonar, lost contact. Master 2.
And it's pretty obvious that I misclassified that now,
Contact breaking up.
but it was close enough to still, carry out an attack on it. So once those two are sunk, I go back up to periscope depth
Con, dive at 45 dive by.
to take a look around, see if there's anything else. I don't see anything, so then I dive back deep again. And then decide that's it. I can't pick up any more targets, so I end the encounter here. And those were the only two ships. Yeah, the Kara was actually Krivac 1, so I misclassified that. Right, so now with those two out of the way, I start heading towards the other contacts that I could see. This looks like another surface group. Bearing 265, my heading is 315, so it'll be to my left, about 50 degrees or so. Close to 15,000 yards as always, and initiate the encounter. This is a little bit noisy, about 81, a little bit, well, it's not too bad. And so with both contacts, I'll get busy classifying them immediately.
Con sonar, new contact bearing 219, designated.
And I get a
Sierra
third
3.
contact before I can even finish classifying the first two.
Con sonar, Sierra
That
1
looks like a
is
Kara.
classified as escort.
Sierra 2 strikes me as being a submarine. Looks like a November probably.
Con sonar, Sierra 2 is classified as submerged submarine.
And Sierra 3 is a surface vessel of some kind.
Con sonar, Sierra 3 is classified as
Cresta
escort.
2. I'm in a good position to grab more information using my towed array. I was going in a good direction to do that, so I continued that for a little bit, and then once I was confident enough, I started shooting. The first weapon I have directed towards Sierra 1. I activate it almost right away and steer it so that Sierra 1's in the middle of the
sonar,
cone.
Sierra 3 is
And fairly soon
cavitated.
after that, the weapon acquires. I take it active to get a better signal, to get a better contact,
207 Helm high.
and then adjust my course to point towards the other contacts as well.
Sierra 1, last bearing 2, 3, 4.
I'll reload
Contact
that
breaking
tube
up.
and continue on with my turn, hoping once again to keep the wire as long as possible.
Shoot 2-1.
I hear the helicopter overhead there, but
Shoot 2-2.
he seems to be moving away, so
Con, helm, steady course.
I fire one weapon at the November and another one at the Cresta, and now I'm looking around for the possible torpedo drop from the helicopter. Torpedo drop that never comes.
Fire. Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Now both weapons have acquired. And I have them both active homing. Speed time up here a little
Con,
bit.
Fire control, weapon countermeasure
So the
homing.
torpedo arrives a bit
Fire
quicker.
control, weapon countermeasure homing.
And this November doesn't try to evade or anything. No countermeasures,
Lost contact.
no knuckles.
Sierra 2, last
Seems
bearing
to have been
2,
resigned to his
0,
fate.
0. Contact breaking
Now the
up.
weapon on the Cresta 2 misses on the first pass and then goes into countermeasure homing.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Eventually the torpedo does reacquire,
Con, fire
and
control, weapon
with it-
countermeasure homing.
with it going active, I'm able to steer it in.
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
Like over half the fuel in the torpedo has been burned just making it out here. So getting to the point where I really don't want to mess around anymore and make sure this weapon takes out the
Con,
Kara.
sonar, lost contact. Sierra 3,
Or the Cresta,
last
sorry.
bearing 2, 2, 6. Contact breaking up.
So that's it. There's still a helicopter nearby, so I'll set a course to go away from the sinking ships at flank speed and get the heck out of here. Once I travel far enough, no longer within the range of the helicopter, there's a Cresta 2, a Kara, and a November, all of which were sunk on that mission, and I'll continue on. And I'm going to hang out near the SOSUS line in hopes of seeing some sort of encounter group to move towards, and also trying to make myself visible to satellites or MPA aircraft. So finally another surface group approaches me, bearing 227, our heading is 298, so we're looking at about 70 degrees to the left.
Raise the ESM mast.
Because I'm already at periscope depth, I'm going to take a look around on the surface. Looks like the detection threshold is quite high, but I'm not going to let that stop me. Looking in direction of contact S1, which is bearing 227. The seas are very, very choppy today, huge waves. And it's 97 decibels, so quite noisy. I'm going to have to make use of my periscope. Now I just see that ship, but the waves are hiding him. So I'm hoping that the picture will clarify a little bit, so that I'm able to finally mark the target.
Lower the ESM mast.
But I'm unable to do so. So instead of messing around with that, especially since he started pinging me right now, I'm going to dive deep.
Make depth 800
Water depth
feet,
is
dive
about
by.
980 feet, so I'm going down to 800, which is a good depth to operate from, in my opinion. And I'll shoot at Master 1 immediately, which I eventually classify as an Udaloy. Sierra 2 shows up shortly after that,
Con, fire control, weapon acquired.
and I fire a weapon at Sierra 2 as well. That Udaloy is heading right for me. So I'll set the weapon to active homing.
Helm, steady course. Con, sonar, lost
Speed
contact.
time up a little bit,
Master 1, last
and that's it
bearing,
for the
2,
Udaloy.
2, 0, contact breaking up.
And I'll classify contact Sierra 2 eventually. I believe it's a Cashin.
Con, sonar,
Steer
lost
weapon
contact.
2 into that
Sierra
target,
2, last
and that's
bearing,
it.
2, 8, 1, contact breaking up.
Once again, there's a helicopter nearby, so being deep already, I'll just set a direction away from the action and move away at flank speed, 33 knots, until I'm no longer within range of that helicopter. So there was a Udaloy, and actually the other contact was a Krivax, so I misclassified that one as well. Seem to have a thing with misclassifying Krivax, I guess. So I see another surface group skirting the coast of Norway. So I put myself in a position to intercept. Bearing 6-5, our heading is 5-7, so they should be almost directly in front.
Rig ship for ultra quiet.
And as soon as we engage this, as soon as we start this engagement, there's 4 targets. So plenty
Make
to
depth 4, 5 feet,
plenty to
dive
worry
by.
about in this engagement already. I'm already at periscope depth, so I'll go up to
Con,
45
dive at
feet.
4, 5 feet, dive by.
Raise the ESM mast to get an idea of what to expect.
Telescope.
Almost maximum detection threshold. And then raise the periscope to take a look around. It's nighttime, so I engage the low light filter. And take a look around. I'll start at one end of the group and then work my way across. So there's the first one. We'll mark that one. Master 1. That's the next one in line. They seem to be moving perpendicular to me. And then when I make it out to where contact Sierra 4
Lower the ESM mast.
should be, I don't see it, so that gives me an idea that Sierra 4 is probably a submerged contact. It's probably a submarine. So I'll start with Sierra 4 first, because I believe a submarine is
Con,
more
sonar,
dangerous
Sierra 4
than those
is
surface
classified
vessels.
as submerged submarine.
And I'm able to classify it as a Victor 2.
Con, sonar, Sierra 4 is cavitating.
Make depth 350 feet, dive
The depth
by.
here is very shallow, maximum 400 feet, so I'll dive to 350, and
Come right to 1.
that's about as deep as I can go safely. We'll fast forward to the point where I'm going to shoot at Master 3, which is the closest surface contact, and also one torpedo at Sierra 4. I believe that my, and then I'll fire one more. I'll fire a third weapon towards
fire control, we've
the
lost the wire.
The wire, I lose the wire on the third weapon immediately, so I'll reload the tube. And we'll jump ahead to where weapons 1 and 2 have acquired. Weapon 1 hits home and takes care of the cash-in.
6. Contact breaking up.
And weapon 1 is still approaching the Victor 2. It's an active homing, so I have a great solution on it.
Con sonar, noisemaker bearing 167.
So when he drops the noisemaker, I'm able to make sure the torpedo doesn't go into countermeasure homing and steer it back
Con sonar,
in the right
regain
direction.
Contact on master 2 bearing 109. Con sonar lost contact.
Right, and that's it for the Victor 2.
4. Last bearing 169. Contact breaking up.
We'll reload that tube and then focus on the weapon heading towards the Utiloy.
Con, torpedo room, tube 1 ready.
Con,
Speed up time a little bit to get it there quicker. And that's it for the Utiloy.
Contact master 1. Last bearing 081. Contact breaking up.
Only have one more contact right now to deal with, Master 2, which I have yet to classify, but I'm going to take care of that right away.
Sonar,
Looks like a
Master
Crested 2.
is classified as escort.
Because I'm not sure exactly how far out he is, and he's the only one left, I'll go up to periscope depth
Raise the radar mast.
and use my radar mast to get a good range on him.
Lower
Turns
the
out
radar
he's a
mast.
bit closer than sonar thought. So with that information on hand, I can shoot a torpedo confidently, knowing that I'm not going to miss him.
Aye, sir.
So there's no shenanigans to speak of here. The weapon runs hot, straight, normal all the way out, and then I'm able to steer it
Sonar lost
right into the Crested 2, and that's it
last
for Master
bearing
2.
118. Contact breaking up.
So I consider staying around for a little bit, but then decide that's enough, and those were the 4 targets on this mission. I have 7 torpedoes left now, so I'm getting down to the point where I may want to start considering going back to Holy Lock to rearm. But not quite right away, not quite then. Decide to head farther into the Barents Sea and hopefully draw the attention of these MPA, of the Maritime Patrol aircraft. While I'm doing that, the mission to drop off the SEAL team expires, and we get a notice about that, and now I get a new mission, which is to intercept cruise missile submarines coming back into the Norwegian Sea from the North Atlantic. I try to avoid that encounter, but I'm not able to do so. Reload the tube here in the pre-mission
Rig ship for
screen,
ultraviolet.
close to
Passing
15,000
600
yards. The noise level here isn't too bad, only 84 decibels, so should be able to hear something pretty easily. But after a little while of not having any contact, I decide I may just as well try to leave, and there's no boats within range. There were 2 tangos apparently there, but they didn't make their presence known. They were being pretty quiet, so I decided to just ignore them and go for the next one. Since they didn't fire any weapons, I don't have to worry about reloading the tubes. So we'll start this encounter. I try to do the same thing on this one, leave right away, but this time there is a submarine nearby, so I can't just leave the encounter. It takes a little while to get a contact. I decided to go a little bit shallow, hoping to get above this layer, even though it's a weak layer. It's possible that the submarine is hiding above the layer. So I decided to try that, but before I could even get there, I did get contact Sierra 1.
Sierra 1 is cavitating.
If he's cavitating, he must be a little bit shallower. looks like a diesel electric boat,
Con sonar,
and it shows
Sierra
up
1
as a
is classified
Romeo.
as submerged submarine.
Now, because I've changed directions before this, I'm actually heading away from the Romeo, so I'm going to change my course to now point towards the contact. We'll skip ahead here just a little bit to when I'm about ready to fire. I've changed my course so that I'm aiming a little bit ahead. I've also come up to periscope depth, just in case there's anything else around here hiding above the layer. So there'll be no miraculous reprieve for the Romeo. He doesn't stand a chance. Mark 48 torpedo just homes right in on him, and that's it for the Romeo. And that was the only target in this encounter, so I'll back out of there and hopefully be able to finally focus on the mission at hand, which is intercepting cruise missile submarines coming back through to the Norwegian Sea, heading back home after launching cruise missiles at shipping in the North Atlantic. So to do this properly, I set myself up in a position where I'm able to easily respond to anything coming across the SOSUS net. I guess I'll just sit here and wait. I see a possible encounter group moving towards me, so I try to move out of the way. I don't want to encounter them, especially since I'm so low on torpedoes right now. I don't want to waste any torpedoes on an encounter mission if I can help it. So here comes the target I'm looking for. And I run into them at 10 knots because they were moving kind of erratically. Contact bearing 272, our heading is 265, so they should be almost dead ahead, close to 15,000 yards, and set up the encounter here. We'll slow down to 5 knots and classify this target, this contact.
Sonar, new contact bearing 3.
Before I can do that, I do get another contact on the way. Looks like contact Sierra 1's a Victor 2.
Sonar, new contact bearing 2, 8.
And before I can classify Sierra 2, I get a third contact. So I'm busy. Because that one's closer, I decide that that one's more important to classify. Although the contact seems very weak and I can't see the lines very easily. I get it somewhere in the general direction. Looks like an Oscar, which I'm happy to see.
Submerged submarine.
I love seeing those Oscars around. Any submarine that takes more than one weapon is a nice treat, because the rest of them really do take
Sierra
only one.
2 is classified as submerged submarine.
And it looks like Sierra 2 is actually a Sierra class submarine, so he would be the most dangerous sub out here right now. Once I've got them all classified, I'm going to change my course so that I can get my total rate pointed at them to get better contact, better solution. Once I do that for a little bit and I get a better solution on all of them, I turn to the left to point these contacts, and I'll fire at the Victor 2 first because he's the closest. Maybe not the most dangerous boat, but he's definitely the closest. So the torpedo does a little bit of it goes into countermeasure homing and goes around again, and whatever, it ends up coming around from a different direction than I was expecting, but it's still able to take him out. Now I'm moving towards the Sierra and also the Oscar. My next target of interest is going to be the Sierra, because he would be the next most dangerous contact after the Victor 2. And the Victor 2 only superseded the Sierra because he's a lot closer. So I set the torpedo to activate past the sinking hulk of the Victor 2, just to avoid it getting sucked up on that. So skip ahead to when this torpedo actually acquires on the Sierra. I have a 95% solution, so I'm able to steer it in. And he tried to evade it, but not much he can do when I have the wires still. So I know that the Oscar is going to take 2 weapons, and even though I do lose contact on the
Contact
Oscar, I know he has to still be there. He didn't teleport, magically teleport somewhere else.
Aye,
So
sir.
I fire 2 torpedoes right away,
2. Aye, sir.
within moments of one another, so I'm expecting them to
Windmaker bearing
pretty much arrive at the same time.
269.
So we'll skip ahead to when they do. The first weapon, even though the Oscar tries
Con, fire control.
valiantly
weapon
to
acquired.
avoid it,
Con,
I'm
fire
able
control. Weapon
to
acquired.
steer it in. So switch to the second one now that the first one has exploded.
Con, fire control. Weapon countermeasure homing.
It comes in a little bit high, but then I'm able to adjust it and pretty much hit the Oscar on the top deck there,
Con,
near where the
lost
other
contact.
torpedo hit, so that would have
03,
been
last
definitely
bearing
ripping that hole open even bigger.
270. Contact breaking up.
So I'll watch him sink for a few moments and then skip ahead. I don't believe there's any more targets here. There's definitely nothing nearby, and that was it for this mission. I had an Oscar Sierra and a Victor 2. The Admiral's happy with the cruise missile sub being sunk. We make the newspaper again, and the next mission is to go back to Holy Lock to rearm, which I'm happy enough to do because I only had a couple torpedoes left after that mission. So we arrive at Holy Lock, having sunk 117 ships, total tonnage of 713,000 tons so far in this campaign. We'll busy ourselves reloading the torpedo room here, and the next mission we get is the T-Land mission. So it looks like I'm going rogue again. I'm going to ignore this mission, load up with torpedoes, head back out into the Norwegian Sea or the Barents Sea, and sink as much Soviet shipping as I can. I'm hoping to get the total tonnage up to 1 million tons here at least before I even try to finish the campaign. So we'll load up with Mark 48 torpedoes and head back out. Save the game. So 80 days into the campaign, we've accomplished 22 missions, sunk 117 ships for a total tonnage of 713,000 tons. So I'm going to put a cut in the video here. Thank you very much for coming by. I'll drop another video in the next day or two. Thanks for stopping by and have a great day.